Let's solve for this integration here from 0 to power 2. We have cosine power 3 x times sine x plus sine power 3x dx, right? So in these cases, you always got to look at the problem and see which one of the formats that we dealt with before you can use, right? For example, integration by part, integration by substitution, or direct integration, okay? So, but when you look at the first part here, there's a relationship between cosine and sine because we know that integration of sine, for example, is negative cosine, right? So we already know something like that. Or integration of cosine, cosine, for example, is going to give you sine. We know that. But in this case here, it's not squeaky clean. So what we're going to try to do is to make this one looking like that because here already we have a lead, okay? So follow me. Let's go. So this one then is equal to what? So this one then is equal to, so we go from 0 to power 2, all right? And then we have cosine power 3x, sine x, all right? So we're loving it so far, right? So plus, how can we do this one? Sine square x times sine x. We can do that, okay? We can definitely do that because once you multiply, that's the same thing as that. Now, granted, sine square x is equal to what? 1 minus cosine x. Again, we're trying to make this one look like that. Looks like that one, okay? So this one then is integral, then from 0 to power 2. So we have cosine 3x sine x, then this one is plus 1 minus cosine square x sine x. Then we have dx there, okay? So what's going to happen is we're going to remove the parentheses by multiplying here. So this one and then this one. So let's go. So from 0 to power 2 still, so we have cosine 3x sine x, then plus 1 times sine x is sine x, minus, then we have cosine square x sine x, okay? How beautiful so far, right? This is great. I'm really excited about this, right? So now, can we now go ahead and find the integral of each of the parts here? Yes, we can do that. So if we take with the first one here, okay, it's going to give us negative quarter of cosine of x. Why? Because if you take the derivative of this here, okay, the derivative of this here, so that gives the 4, we go down, and then cosine, 4 minus 1, which is 3, and then negative sine. So once you simplify it, you should be able to get this back, okay? So once we move this way, this one will give us negative cosine x, right? Negative cosine x, okay? Great. So we have that, and then we keep moving, minus, so in this case, this is the same thing as that one there, okay? So in this case, negative third cosine power 3x, okay? So that's that. And then everybody, 0 to pi over 2. How beautiful of a problem, right? Okay, I know you guys are loving it so far. So now we're going to work it out, okay? So this is then negative, then a quarter of then cosine power 4, then pi over 2, all right? Minus cosine pi over 2, okay? And then this one negative, negative is a plus. So plus 1 over 3 cosine power 3, then also pi over 2. All right? So that's the first part. Minus, so minus then, we're going to apply now the 0. So it's going to be negative quarter cosine power of 0 minus cosine of 0 plus 1/3 cosine power 3 of 0. All right? So what a beautiful problem so far. Okay? So here we are. So this one is equal. Then cosine power over 2. So power over 2, so we're talking about the trigonometry circle here, right? So what's going to happen? So on top, we have pi over 2 on the sine line. And this is the cosine line. So, but we're looking for cosine of pi over 2 on the top, so that would give us 0. So that means 0 here times a quarter, that will give you 0. Or negative quarter times 0, still 0. Then in this case, cosine pi over 2, still 0 times negative 1, that gives you also 0. And then for the third one also, for this one as well, that would give you 0. Because again, cosine pi over 2 also is 0. Now when it comes to this one, so this is now minus, right? So negative and negative is going to give us a positive. And what is cosine of 0? So we are on the cosine line now, and then 0 is here, 0 pi over 2, okay? So pi, 3 pi over 2, and then we back to 0 or 2 pi, okay? So then the cosine of that is what? Is 0 is 1. So that one is negative 1, negative 1 times negative 1 quarter times negative is positive a quarter, okay? And then for this one, that would give us what? Negative times negative is positive 1. Okay? And then for this one, negative times positive is negative. So this one is going to give us negative what? So cosine of 0 also is 1. So that gives you 1 over 3. Now you just have to combine these three together. You know how to do this. This one is nothing for you. So lowest common denominator, which is 12. And then that'll be 3 times 1. That gives you 3 on the top here. Plus, so 12 times 1, that will give you 12. And then 4 times 1, that gives you negative 4. All over 12. All right? So 3 plus 12 is 5. 5 minus 4 is 1. And, 3 plus 12 is 15, not 5. 15 minus 4, which is 11. So you have 11 over 12. Okay? So you always got to be careful. Check everything out. Make sure that sign, there's nothing is wrong. These problems can be problematic, so, and then you have to be very careful. All right? Thank you. Voila.